Who is going to be presenting?
Saanvi will start.
Okay.
But someone else might have to start presenting the screen. I can share the PDF in the chat if you want.
Sakshi ma'am, can you share your screen? Is it possible?
Okay, sure.
So should I start?
Yes, you can start.
Okay. So hi everyone, good evening. Today our theme is diving into understanding the brain and our daily environment. How attention, mindset, spaces can shape our daily energy. So throughout this presentation, we are bridging neuroscience with real world spaces and mental pressures that we navigate every single day. So I'll be starting off by exploring spatial psychology and how urban designs and our immediate surroundings subconsciously control our daily energy. After which, Anaiya will be unpacking the physical and mental realities of pressure and anxiety and how we cope with them. Then we'll have Prisha break down the cognitive mechanics behind procrastination and why we do it and how to break the cycle. Followed by Netra, who will be talking about social media and how technology affects our attention span. And finally, we have Padma, who will wrap up by connecting neuroscience with human rights and the power of critical thinking. So let's start. We can move to the next slide. So, does anyone over here know what? We can go back to the previous slide. Know what spatial psychology is? Anyone of y'all? Okay, so I'll tell you what it is. So it's basically the study of how physical spaces can dictate our stress, cognitive fatigue, and sense of safety. So I want you all to think about your daily commute or walk back home from your classes or from school. And I want you all to tell me which stage of your daily walk feels the most stressful or exhausting, and why do you feel that way? Y'all can unmute and answer.
Does anyone want to unmute and answer?
Could you please repeat your question?
Yeah. So I want you all to think about your daily walk back home from your class or your school, a route that you use every single day. And I want you to tell me if there's any stage of your walk which feels very stressful to you or exhausting to you. And if there's any specific reason behind it, you can tell me that too. Okay, I'll just move on. And okay, so how our streets can drain our energy. So sometimes we feel drained on our walk back home or, while we are walking to some other place. And that, according to me, isn't a personal weakness or all in our heads. Sometimes it's just a bad environment. Okay. So let's look at the 4 blocks on the screen. So, number one's constant alert mode. Broken streets or traffic and friction can keep our brains on high alert, like constantly spiking cortisol, the stress hormone. Then we move on to the second block, which talks about visual overload. There's a lot of gray walls, unmanaged waste on the street, and clutter on the streets, which add a very heavy layer of daily mental fatigue. Sometimes it also makes us feel unsafe. Looking at point three, we can see that poor lighting or narrow roads or blocked sightliness uh, can directly create fear or anxiety in the dark. And fourth is no breathing room. So, total lack of clean, open, or bright areas leave us feeling claustrophobic and bottled up. We can move on to the next slide. So, in this slide, you can see two pictures. It's the same place, but they've both got completely different vibes. In the first picture at the top, we can see that it's a completely dark place, very dirty place. It has a lot of unmanaged clutter. It does not feel very positive to take that road, does it? But whereas when we make changes to it, we keep the place clean, we paint the walls, add some plants there, take the trash out, we feel a bit more positive. There's also good lighting there, so that makes us feel a bit safe to take that road, right? So we looked at four problems in the first slide, right? So in this slide, we're going to look at how we can fix these problems. So the first one is having continuous pathways, having clear, unbroken sidewalks, which can eliminate the physical friction that you have, keeping you all safe and letting your brain relax. So you don't have to constantly keep thinking, oh, where do I step next? The second one would be the lighting and the sight lines. So nice, bright overhead lights can remove dark corners, which eliminates safety and anxiety even before it begins. Spatial order. So this is basically organized areas and managed waste, which can basically signal dignity and lower subconscious hypervigilance. And then there's visual relief. So small pockets of color or greenery, they actively lower your cortisol and cortisol levels in elevator mode. And these can be low cost interventions because clear paint zones, warm solar lighting, and greenery instantly restore mental dignity and calm. Moving on to the next slide, we can look at the neuroscience behind the spatial stress. So there's something called a subconscious threat detection. Dark corners and crowding overactivate the amygdala, and it automatically keeps your nervous system in a fight or flight state. Next comes the environmental decision fatigue, which is basically navigating those broken or dirty parts, and the noise forces endless micro decisions, draining your working memory before you even sit at your desk. That's what makes you feel so tired. And then there's biophilic recovery. So, this is basically attention restoration theory, which proves that exposure to natural elements like forests or greenery, rivers, anything related to the nature or daylight that actively resets or your overstimulated neural pathways. It makes you feel good, makes you feel happy on its own. So, what's the takeaway on this slide is that environment isn't just a location, it acts as a physical extension of your nervous system. It's basically a mental exhaustion, often stems from the spaces we navigate or we walk in, and not just a workload that we carry. So sometimes you can see that offices, right? Let's take school as an example. You probably have a lot of homework to do. Okay, but it's not necessary that the homework is what is causing all your stress. Sometimes it can just be the classroom. Your classroom's very dull. It has got no charts at all. There's no colorful art up the wall, right? It's very dull and it's very gray. So that might also cause your mood to shift unknowingly. We can move on to the next slide. So now these are all changes that take a lot of time, right? So we are also going to look at things that you all can do at home, be it your rooms, be it your um, your workplaces, your schools. Okay. So before that, one more thing. These are uh, some research papers that I've taken bits from. So this is basically merging clinical science and spatial design to build good study spaces. It is proven that ceiling height dictates cognitive style, which means that higher visual volume or ceiling height can encourage creative problem solving while lower structured spaces favor detail focus. Secondly, daylight is also linked with concentration. And there's evidence based design that learning environments with direct access to natural daylight and window seating can significantly improve alertness, concentration, and your test performance. And thirdly, there's also integrating flexible quiet zones, natural textures, and ergonomic order, which can eliminate your friction, directly boosting your daily focus and stamina. We can move on to the next slide. So let's look at how you can take little steps at your end, starting with your room or your bedroom corner, anything. So can one of y'all tell me how you can start taking small steps to redesign your space? Anyone?
Does anyone want to unmute and share with us anything that comes to mind?
So, for example, you have a study table where you study every single day, but it's very plain. What can you do to, make it more bright, or, how can you decorate it? Is there anything that you can do to make it more fun or positive? Yes, you can answer. You can just unmute and answer.
On a plain study table, on the corners, we can stick some sticky notes or draw something creatively, which like positive sentence, which motivates us during study.
Exactly. So, what you
And
can do
some
is,
yes,
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
and also some creative, cute cartoon stickers and something like that, which
Exactly. Something
make
that will
creative
elevate your,
and yes.
right. So, something that will elevate your mood, something cute, something funny, right? So, what I'm going to talk to you all about now is a project toolkit. So, I have created a toolkit which comes with a small plant, some fairy lights. Do you all know what fairy lights are? They are tiny lights. They are battery operated lights that you can put anywhere you like. It has got some sticker sheets. So, like Speedy said, they've got quotes, they've got cute stuff, cartoons, and all of that that you all can put anywhere you all like. And then there comes a mini board game. So, all of you all have played Snake and Ladders. So, like there are obstacles and like there are ladders which boost you up. This board game is somewhat like that. So every time you get a dark space or some clutter on the board game on your path, you move backwards. But every time you see good lighting or every time you see nice plants or something that makes your space feel good or better, you can boost forward. And then there also comes a focus pad. So, what's a focus pad? So, a focus pad is going to have a calendar, a to do list on which you can write, and also the guidelines that I just told you all about that you all can refer back to. So, you all can use all of this to decorate your bedroom corner, your study table, your workstation, wherever you all like. And another thing that I am also going to provide is a lookbook. So, a lookbook is going to consist of real life images from Mumbai inside homes and on the streets. And then I've used AI to reimagine those and how it would look once we have taken these actionable steps to make it a better place, to make it more clean, and much more walkable than it is right now. And it has got tips to do that. So yeah, that is it. And I will now hand it over to Anaiya to talk about how our internal mental state ties into pressure and anxiety.
Saanvi, can you start sharing now? I need to take screenshots and I'm not being able to.
Yeah, sure. Just a moment. Anaiya, is it visible?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name is Anaiya, and today we're going to talk about pressure and anxiety. We often associate pressure and anxiety with small kids, teenagers, but in reality, it's that pressure is something we all feel, we all experience throughout our lives. As we grow older, our responsibilities increase, and so does the sources of stress. So, before talking about the children, I want us to reflect on what pressures we feel as adults every day. Can we go to the next slide? So, when did pressure and anxiety become normal? So, if we think about it, many of us experience pressure every single day. It may come from work responsibilities, financial pressure, taking care of family members, worrying about health, and simply just the future. These pressures can become so common that we begin to accept that they're normal and they're part of our life, and we stop checking up on ourselves. If we as adults sometimes struggle to recognize our own emotions, imagine how difficult it will be for the children who are still learning how to understand their feelings. Okay, next slide. So before we start, I want us to just take a couple of minutes and do this activity. So here there are 6 scenarios which are like common situations where people feel anxiety and pressure. So I want you all to rate it from 1 to 5. 1 means you don't feel very stressed, and 5, that means that it causes you a lot of stress. So let's take an example. For me, lack of time. When I don't have enough time, I feel super stressed. So for me, the scale is 4. So I would like for y'all to also do this, like all 6 of them. And if y'all want, y'all can also answer, unmute and answer if you're comfortable. Okay. So has everyone done it? Has everyone done the activity? I just want to, like, can I get a thumbs up or something so I know I can move ahead? Okay, great. Wonderful. So now I want you all to reflect on this. I want you all to reflect on the activity. So can we move on to the next slide? Yeah. What does pressure and anxiety look like? So here there are 4 places where pressure and anxiety affect us. So let's go through each box. So the first box is our minds. So mentally, we experience like racing thoughts, difficulty concentrating, overthinking, and it just gets super stressful. And we're thinking about a lot of things at the same time. We're not able to concentrate properly. Then the second thing is our body. It Pressure and anxiety takes a like huge toll on our like physically. So we feel stress. When we're feeling stress, our heart rates increase, our chest feels tight, we have sweaty arms, and then like our stomach starts hurting. And just common signs, like when we start moving our leg, because when some anxious time we start moving our leg. So these are just small signs that show that we have pressure and anxiety. And then third is emotionally. So we become very irritable, we don't want to talk to anyone. Something small happens and we lash out. In situations we get super nervous, and yeah, and we get very easily frustrated when someone just wants to talk to us. And the fourth thing is daily life. I think this is something when pressure and anxiety starts building inside us, and we don't have a output for it. Then it starts showing up in our daily lives. So we have trouble sleeping, we can't sleep, we are low in motivation, we don't want to do any of our work, we just want to sit around, not do anything. Then we stop talking to other people, we want to be with ourselves only. And lastly, change in appetite, we stop feeling very hungry you know so these are just like some things that happen when we have so much pressure and anxiety in our bodies. Yeah, next slide. So I just wanted to talk to you all about how we can manage it, how like coping mechanisms. So so something which is super simple is we should just take a couple of breaths, close our eyes, take a couple of breaths, and then when our body feels calm, we can move on to the task. Like for me, especially whenever I feel very stressed, I close my eyes and I think about a happy place. So for me, it's my dog. So y'all should all have this like happy place. So whenever y'all are like anxious, y'all can just shut your eyes and think about that. Second, is writing our thoughts down. That helps us organize about what we're worrying about. It helps us remove all the clutter in our brain and put it down on a sheet of paper, which really helps us reflect on what is actually causing it. And then third is creative expression. So we should like draw, color, maybe even listen to music if we like to, maybe even dance. So this just releases all the emotions out. So for me, I love like painting. So whenever I feel really stressful, I start painting, and whatever is in my mind, I will always put like it'll always come onto the paper. So yeah. And then fourth is move your body. So this is something we should do every day. Move your body for 10 minutes only. Maybe go for a walk, stretch. This will just like regulate your blood in the system, in your body, and it'll just release all the tension. And lastly, this is the most important. We should always be able to talk to someone about how we're feeling. It could be a friend, it could be a family member, it could be a teacher, anyone. But just having someone to talk to about all this stress and anxiety we're feeling will just help us stay calm. And there's a study that talks about how 8 minutes can change your how you feel. Basically, if I always do this whenever I'm feeling really stressed. I'll call my friend, and I just talk to her for 10 minutes, but in that 10 minutes I feel really relaxed. So it's very important to not be embarrassed about feeling like pressure and anxiety, and we should just talk to someone who we're comfortable with. Okay, lastly, can we move on? Yeah. So why does this matter? So I wanted to, my whole thing is to teach children how to be emotionally aware. And before that, we need to teach ourselves, adults, that how we can handle pressure and anxiety. So I have two ideas. The first one is a classroom motion chart. It's where it'll help kids identify emotions every day, and encourages, like, talks about how they're feeling every day. They also gives teachers a good insight about the students' feelings and thoughts, and it's just a good regular thing to do. And the second thing is a board game. This board game uses scenarios, like I gave you all like 2 slides back, as an activity, like lack of time, family responsibilities. This game also has these small scenarios, and it just encourages encourages children to talk about the, like, pressure and anxiety, and what is wrong and what is right. And it basically just teaches them coping mechanisms. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. I hope you liked my presentation, and I will hand it over to Prisha.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Prisha, and I'm going to talk about the cognitive side of procrastination. Next slide, please. So most people think that procrastination is just bad time management, but the meaning of procrastination is that it's the delay of doing a task that you know you have to do, even though that there will be consequences for not doing it. And so instead of helping this habit, we usually try to distract ourselves by doing something else. So let's talk about the process of procrastination. So first is the trigger. And this is when you get a task that seems confusing or boring or too hard. And second is the threat. And so this is when your brain sees this task that you've received as a threat. And third, your brain panics and looks for something comforting or something you think is safe and easier than doing the task. Next slide, please. So there are many causes for procrastination. For example, lack of motivation, low self-confidence, lack of understanding, low energy levels, and poor organization skills. And these reasons are usually the main causes for a person to procrastinate. And by understanding what our cause for procrastination is, it can help us find ways to solve it. So let's do an activity. So the question is that what are some times that you procrastinated, and if you know why, then why? So you guys can just think in your head, or if you want, you can put it in the chat or say it out loud. Okay, I'm gonna move on now. Next slide, please. So to further understand why we procrastinate, imagine that there are two different voices inside your head. So first is the present self, and the present self lives in the right now. So it wants comfort, safety, and fun. And when you sit down to do a hard task, the present self panics and it causes you to do something easier instead. And the second voice is the future self. And so this is the planner, and it dreams about your big goals, for example, like getting good grades or finishing work on time. Next slide, please. So now that we've understood why we procrastinate, let's look at some examples of ways to manage procrastination. So first is you can break down the task that you've received into small steps. So this can be useful if you've just gotten a task and don't know where to start, or are overwhelmed by the whole task. The second example is to create a study space. So this can help you feel more organized, and if you had to study, this could help you get into the mood of studying, especially if you have trouble concentrating. The third is to use the 5-minute rule. So this is like if you didn't want to leave something that you were doing to do the task that you had to do, you can set a timer for 5 minutes and continue doing the fun thing for 5 minutes. And after that timer runs out, you can do the assignment that you have to do. And so this is good for poor organization skills or a lack of like motivation. And another example is to make a study plan. So this way you can make sure to start the assignment at the time that you decide that you want to start. You can organize yourself, especially if you don't know where to start or you have bad organization skills. And so these are just a few examples of what you can use. There are definitely more, for example, like the Pomodoro method. If you like, yeah. Next slide, please. So like my deliverable to help procrastination is it's basically like a box or like a toolkit containing a few items that will help understand procrastination and have techniques that will help. So the first item is a timer, and this can be used in many ways. So you could use the Pomodoro method, which is you work for 25 minutes, then you take a break for 5 minutes, and then you work for another 25 minutes. Or you can use the 5-minute rule, where if present, like for example, if you were on your phone and you had to do your homework, you can set a timer for 5 minutes, and after that, you start doing your homework. The second item is a habit tracker, which can help you manage your tasks and help you be aware of what you need to do. And third is like a reusable to-do list, which can be useful when you have to break down your task into small steps so you can understand it better and it will help you get started on the assignment. And fourth is a brochure explaining procrastination, which can help the user understand why procrastination happens, and it can be a step-by-step guide on that, like acknowledging that the user has realized that they're procrastinating and explain in more detail how to use the items that were given. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and now I'm gonna hand it over to Netra.
Hi everyone, I'm Netra, and today I'm going to be talking about attention span, how social media affects it, and how to improve it. Next slide. So, have you ever picked up your phone to just check one notification, but then ended up scrolling for 20 or 30 minutes? So, this doesn't just happen by accident. Social media apps are designed to keep us using them for as long as possible. For example, infinite scrolling means that there's always another post or video that's there to watch. Streaks encourage us to come back every day so we don't lose our progress. Notifications remind us to open the app again, and recommendations show us videos and posts that match our interests. All of these features work. Saanvi. All of these features work together to keep our attention, and before we know it, we've spent most of our time just on our phones than we had originally planned. Okay, next slide. Okay. So, what happens if this becomes a daily habit? In the short term, we may get distracted more easily, become less patient, or even forget what we were doing before we checked our phones. In the long term, our brains can get used to always having something new to look at. This can make it harder to stay focused during longer activities like reading a book, studying for a test, or listening in class. It can also become harder to ignore distractions around us since our brains expect constant stimulation. This doesn't mean social media is bad, but it does mean that we should try to use it in a balanced way. Okay, next slide. So now I'd like everyone to join in for a quick activity. So raise your hand if you've ever walked into a room and forgotten why you went there. Raise your hand if you've ever lost track of time while scrolling on social media. And raise your hand if a notification has interrupted your homework or another different activity that you were doing. Raise your hand if you've ever reached for your phone without even thinking about it. So, all of these show how easily our attention can be pulled away without us even noticing. Next slide, please. So the good news is that attention is something that we can improve. The first way is by getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. This sleep helps our brains rest, improves memory, and makes it easier to concentrate. Next is movement. Doing about 60 minutes of physical activity each day increases blood flow to the brain, which helps us stay focused. Eating healthy food also gives our brains the energy they need to think, learn, and remember information. It's also important to take short breaks after working for a while. Even a 10-minute break can help you come back feeling refreshed and ready to focus again. Finally, spending time talking with friends and family gives us a break from screens and helps improve our communication skills and overall well-being. Next slide, please. So for my community project, I designed a card game to help children improve their attention span in a fun and interactive way. The game has 20 cards divided into 4 categories: visual focus, movement, touch focus, and auditory focus. So players roll a dice to choose a category and then complete the activity on the card. So for example, they might find hidden objects, do a movement challenge, identify different textures, or listen carefully and repeat a rhythm. The goal of the game is to encourage children to take short breaks from screens while improving their attention through simple, enjoyable activities that they can play almost anywhere. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So today we're going to be talking about human rights and neuroscience and how they're both connected to each other. So human rights are basically the rights that we have. So when we're born, we have these certain rights, and knowing about these rights, understanding them, knowing how to actually use them, that's what is important. And then neuroscience is the branch of science that deals with our brain. So we're going to connect both of these and see. Next slide, please. So I have a question for all of you. Why do we think the way that we do? So every person has a different style of thinking. One person may think that one person may think a certain way, and the other person could think of that same topic in a completely opposite way. And that's because we all have our own. We have been brought up in different ways, and we have inherited different ideas and be it stereotypes or anything in our lives. So it makes us think differently. This could be good or bad in both ways. And I have another question, which is, if human rights belong to everybody, we know that human rights are there for everyone. It's written in the constitution, in the law. For most countries, it's there for everyone. Then why do discrimination, abuse, stereotypes, and silence, how do they still exist even after the law has written against it? It's because of the people. The people, they don't practice it, right? So we need to practice it. We need to understand it and actually use it rather than just having it written down somewhere. So our brains, they're constantly learning from our parents, teachers, media, culture, our friends. So everybody around us, be it our friends, our school, our teacher, our environment, everybody around us tells us something and we absorb that and we think of that as normal. For example, there could be some beliefs that you have been told by your society or your parents. It could be as if girls can't do this or boys shouldn't cry. It can be something as simple as that, or it can be even something bigger. So this is something that differs. And many people, they hear these beliefs, they keep on hearing them from different people from around them, and they think of that as normal. So that's something which is not right. We should actually question everything that we hear, because if we just accept it as reality, then we never know if it's actually correct, if it actually respects everybody, or if it's just there. And neuroscience, this is where it comes to play. It explains how these beliefs are formed, right? So human rights, they help us decide whether these beliefs respect dignity and equality. So neuroscience is, I just talked about it right now, how our environment shapes our thinking and all those things. So it explains how our beliefs are formed by the people around us, by the environment, by what we watch on the internet, whatever it may be. And then human rights, it helps us decide whether those beliefs that we've accepted, are they actually right? Because we need to question if they're actually correct, if they respect other people's dignity, and it actually supports equality or not. And progress only begins when we actually question the inherited beliefs instead of accepting them automatically. So, accepting whatever everybody says is very easy, but progress in our society can only begin when we question these beliefs, be it a small belief, somebody joking about something, or anything. So, the main thing that we've learned from here is that our brain learns from society, but the human rights that we have, they teach the society to do better, and it's our job to question it. Dignity means respect. So every person has its own, has their own dignity, right? So it's like respect for every person, respecting their opinions, respecting their religion, the way they speak, whatever it may be. So that's dignity. Next slide, please. So our brain, how does that actually shape the society? This is a very interesting topic. So the first is social conditioning. What is social conditioning? So children, be it children or adults, we all grow up hearing certain things, as I told you. It could be that boys don't cry, or that girls shouldn't be quiet, or it could be even something like this has always been done in our culture, in our tradition or society. This is how the society, it conditions our brain into believing that something is right, even if we don't actually know, we don't question it. And because of our social surroundings, we begin to think that it's normal or that it's right. And this happens because of observation. We observe things in our surroundings through our parents, teachers, us, community, society, and through repetition, because it keeps on happening. So we believe that it's true. Second is neuroplasticity. So once these beliefs have formed, it's not that they cannot be changed. These beliefs can be changed. These stereotypes that we learn from the people, prejudices that we inherit, or the biases, all of these things are learned and can be unlearned as well. So that's very important, because learning them is something different. We have already done that. Everybody learns, like throughout our life, we learn different things, and learning about these stereotypes or prejudices or anything, that's normal. But questioning them is something that we all must do. Questioning them and then learning from them, learning to be better, a better citizen and a better person. Third is confirmation bias. So whatever I believe, what this means is that our brains are naturally seeking for the information that supports existing beliefs, which means that whatever I believe, I will notice that only in my surroundings. For example, if I believe that girls should be quiet, then I would observe in my surroundings more that girls are more quiet, they're more submissive, or they don't raise their voice a lot, and they're quiet, and all of these things, I would notice them more because my brain already believes that. So that is confirmation bias. It is something that happens naturally. So our brain naturally does this, and this makes it even harder for us to question these unfair traditions, because first of all, we've been taught these things since we were young. So when we didn't know how to actually question it, when we didn't have the capability to critically think about these things or analyze them. And then confirmation bias is something that makes it harder. So we must question everything that the society or that people teach us, because that's when progress actually happens. So how do we do that? How do we break the cycle? So, as I told you, that girls may learn to be silent, or they may learn to apologize excessively for things that they didn't even do, or they may accept unequal treatment because of excuses such as this is a tradition, or maybe observing it in the surroundings, in the society, in our relatives, how it's always been. And same thing goes for boys. It's not that only girls go through this. It affects everybody, boys, girls, everyone. Some examples of this for boys is that they may learn that showing their emotions is weak, and they shouldn't cry in front of people. They should appear dominant. They should be rough and raise their voice, or not cry, or not speak about their emotions. So these are also very illogical expectations that society puts on both girls and boys, and this actually limits everyone's potential and the relationships that we have. So equality, it isn't just a legal goal that we can just write down and achieve. It's something that our brains can actively learn. It can be learned slowly, but it can surely be learned. Yeah. So stereotypes and prejudices. Stereotypes may be some things that we've learned from our society, from the people around us, from the society, which generalize people. For example, if I say that people from a certain race, a color, creed, religion, if they are this way, don't talk to them. That is a stereotype. Prejudice is also something very similar to this. We believe this and it becomes a prejudice. Ki these people are like that, those people are like that, you should stay away from them or not do this, don't interact with them. These are all stereotypes and prejudices that we inherit. Means people tell it, people normally speak about them around us, so we naturally believe that it's normal, even if it's not, even if it's against human rights. Next slide, please. So now we're going to connect this to rights. So I've told you about how our human brain works, how our surroundings impact our thinking, our potential, and all of these things. So how does this connect to our human rights? Because human rights is something it's very important, right? Everybody has their human rights, and it's very important to know them for your own safety, for your own potential, for yourself and for others around you. So if you know about these things, if you actually question the societal judgments that are passed or the stereotypes or prejudices, if you question them, then only you will know that you have rights. Because right now, there are many rights that weren't there 10, 20 years back. So many new rights are there for women, especially, even for children, for everybody, which weren't there many years ago. And people don't believe it. People still believe, they still have the past thinking, they still believe that they still have that old thinking, and they aren't ready to accept the change. So that's the main thing. We need to question all of these judgments or comments, and we need to learn from them. And this is how it connects to our rights, because these are human rights. And once we question them, once we question these beliefs, then only we'll know that we actually have rights against them, that what is happening is wrong, and we can raise our voice against it, we can take action against it. So first is POCSO, which is Protection of Children from Sexual Offences. So everybody who is under the age of 18, for people above 18, there are different laws, but for children and minors, people who are below the age of 18, regardless of gender, this applies for both girls. If you are being physically, verbally, or sexually abused on, it could be in person or even online. Means if somebody is threatening you or bribing you or physically hitting you, abusing you, saying something bad, or constantly tormenting you, any type of those things, then there is POCSO, which protects minors against this. And this could be by anybody. It's not that it's just from strangers or some random person. It could be by your relatives or your teacher, anybody. It can happen by anybody. And if it does, then it's very important that you raise your voice against it. You can talk to a trusted adult like your parents or your teachers or a counselor if your school has one, or any relative. But the main thing is telling somebody about it and raising our voice. Second is digital rights. So if anybody shares your personal information, this could be any type of personal information. It could be images or your address or some rumors about you, like some extreme rumors, it could be, or anything about your personal information which puts you at danger. If this happens digitally, that is also against the law. It cannot happen without your consent, and it is a violation of your privacy. So this can be in the form of cyberbullying. Cyberbullying means that when you're on the internet, if somebody bullies you on the internet, you're on an app or some social media platform, and people are bullying you for no reason, and if somebody is cyber stalking means if online somebody keeps trying to talk to you, you've refused them, blocked them several times, but they still try to talk to you from different numbers, or they keep trying to contact you, that's cyber stalking. And then online blackmail means if somebody blackmails you for money or for anything, in fact, online, all these things are also wrong, and there are protections against it. And these also can be reported to the trusted adults around you. Third is safe learning and working spaces. So our schools, workplaces, all of these places are supposed to be safe. We're supposed to feel safe here. If anybody faces, if you or your friend or anybody faces any type of harassment, it could be verbal, sexual, physical, anything, any discrimination also. It cannot happen on the basis of race, creed, religion. This is also wrong, and there are laws which protect you against this. And this is because everybody deserves a safe environment to learn and work. This is a basic human right also. And the most important part out of all of this is that I think is rights with responsibility. So human rights are rights for everybody. They do not discriminate. They protect everyone. But respect, evidence, fairness matter very much during this process. You cannot use your human rights for your own benefit. You can't lie about them. You can't use them for your own benefit or anything. You have to respect other people's rights, their opinions, and the evidence. Fairness. Fairness is also required because these rights are there to protect you. If you use these rights wrongly, like say I have some personal issues with someone and then I use these laws against them, that is wrong of me because these rights are here to protect us. If we are the ones who are going to be misusing them, that would be a very big shame for us and the law that has been provided to us. So that's the main thing. We have to use these rights responsibly. It's our responsibility to make sure that we use them when it's required and make sure that you use them if required because these are there to protect you. And if you do not want to talk to any trusted adults around you, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then there are helpline numbers which you could call. If you are in a situation of emergency, if you need somebody at the moment, like it could be police or an ambulance or anything, then the national emergency number is 112. I hope we all know that. And then the child helpline number, which is for children under 18 years of age, that's 1098. For cyber fraud, there is a cyber fraud helpline, which is 1930. So these are some helpline numbers which you can contact if needed. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we've learned about what neuroscience is, how it connects to our human rights, and knowing our rights. We've done all that now. Now we're going to see how we can actually turn these rights, or we can actually use them, right? Because knowing all this information is different, but using them is very important because if we don't use them, then there's no use in knowing all of this information. So the change begins when somebody speaks up, be it you, be it somebody else. Change has always begun, even in the past. You could take an example of any person, it could be Gandhi or anyone. Change has always begun when somebody has spoken up. After one person speaks up, there are multiple people that follow them and they're able to raise their voice also. So this is where we turn our awareness into action. Awareness means we know that our rights are there. Now we are going to turn this into action if needed. So first, let's understand why is speaking up so difficult. Whenever we speak up about these things, be it with our friends, family, teachers, it gets really difficult. We feel uncomfortable. Why does that happen? It's because our brains, this is also connected to neuroscience. Our brains are naturally wired to avoid conflict, rejection, and embarrassment. What this means is that we want to stay in our comfort zone. That's the brain's, that is a coping survival mechanism. It is something that is subconsciously there and there's nothing wrong with that, right? So obviously we're going to avoid conflict in our life. We're trying to be safe and protect ourselves. We won't do anything that is out of our comfort zone because we fear that it will lead to rejection or some embarrassment or anything of that matter or societal judgment even. And this is why many people don't speak up because they're afraid that this is going to happen or people are going to talk about me or they're going to judge me or anything like that. This is the reason why many people stay silent even when something wrong happens to them or somebody else around them. So speaking up is very important because as I said, that knowing these rights is nothing if we don't actually speak up and raise our voice. So one thing that is required is courage. Every time we question a harmful stereotype and we report abuse, support a friend, or challenge discrimination, we strengthen the habit of standing up for what is right. So every time you question even it could be your family members, it could be your friend who's laughing at a joke about somebody's appearance or their religion or their caste, creed, whatever it is. It could be a harmful joke. It could be abuse that has happened with someone. It could be stereotypes. Every time we question this and we actually challenge it, we change the system. Like we strengthen the habit of standing up for ourselves. Now that we've done it once, it'll be way easier for us to do it the next time. This requires courage, of course. And once we start doing it, you will see how easy it actually is to stand up for yourselves. And only when we stand up for ourselves, we can stand up for others around us, our friends, family, our community, whatever it is. And it is only through these small actions of questioning such things, stereotypes, of um, reporting abuse, these small actions can lead to even bigger changes in the society. And change doesn't start with everyone. We know this from many historical examples that I gave you. Most of the social change that has begun because one person had the courage to question what everybody else accepted. Everybody else accepted it as normal, as the way that it was, or whatever it was. But one person had the courage to question it, and because of that, many people gained their courage because of that as well. So, what is your role as a responsible citizen? So, first is whenever we're speaking up against these people or whatever has happened, first speak up respectfully. We cannot use wild language or anything. Speaking up respectfully. We have to talk, we have to present our argument in front of them with logic, of course. We can't just start shouting or, you know, throwing tantrums. And we have to do it respectfully. That's the main thing. Because if we stoop to their level, then we're no different than them. And we have to support the people who are afraid to speak. So many people, they're afraid to speak not because they don't have the courage, but because they don't even know that they have these rights, and they can be protected by the law or their whatever it may be. So we have to support the people who are afraid to speak up, or those who don't have the knowledge to speak up. That's why I'm sharing all of this information, right? And then we have to challenge the harmful jokes and stereotypes, as I said. All of these jokes which are made in society about, be it a person's skin color or their religion, or let's say it's a caste. These jokes are very harmful. They are actually reinforcing a thinking of the past, which was used to discriminate against people. It was used to strip them off of their basic human rights. So these jokes are very harmful, and we need to challenge them, we need to question them and change it as well. We need to change ourselves first. And also using our voice responsibly, as I said, that's the most important. Rights come with empathy, accountability, and respect for others. These rights won't exist if we don't have empathy for others. We need to speak up for ourselves, think about others as well when we're speaking. All of these things, empathy means thinking about other people as well. It's not only that I'm selfish and I'm always thinking about my own needs. It's thinking about other people, how they feel, respecting them and their boundaries. Accountability and respect for others. Accountability means that I'm accountable for my mistakes. Let's say that I made a joke which was harmful. It made somebody uncomfortable, or it made them feel bad at the moment. If there's something like that, then I should take accountability. Because of course we're all humans, we're gonna make mistakes. I could say something wrong at the moment and then later on regret it. Somebody else could do the same. But the main thing here is taking accountability, acknowledging that yes, I did something wrong and I have to apologize to the person, and now I'm gonna be a better human being. We have to be accountable and respect everybody else. So the main thing that we've learned here is that silence protects our problems. All of the problems that we have will remain in them if we stay silent. But courage, it protects people. When we speak up for ourselves, for others, whoever it may be, it protects us and the people around us. Next slide, please. So we'll just do a short activity. This is, I'll present you with some situations, and you have to tell me what you would do in that situation. And there are no wrong answers to these. You can tell anything. It could be one word answer, whatever it may be, what you would do as a person in these situations if they happened around you. So the first situation is if your friend tells you that they're being harassed online as in somebody is threatening them or bribing them, or any type of abuse that's happening online. If your friend tells you that's happening to them, but they ask you not to tell anybody, what would you do? Would anyone like to answer? Okay, it's okay. So, since nobody's answering, I'll tell you what I would do. If my friend were being harassed online and they did not want me to tell anybody, I would first of all tell them that it's okay that this is not their fault. And then secondly, I would, if they actually don't want to talk to any trusted adult on near them, their parents or the counselor, I would tell them to at least call a helpline number, because that is, first of all, that's anonymous. You don't need to reveal who you are, and you can share the information with them about the person who's harassing you online. And most of the times, like, these issues can be resolved by that also. So, but if this issue escalates, then of course you should tell adults around you, and I would do that if the issue were to escalate. Second situation is if a classmate makes a sexist joke. Sexist joke means it could be it's a joke which makes people uncomfortable. It's about somebody's body. It's shaming them. It could be anything like that about somebody's body, and everybody laughs. But that one person feels uncomfortable. They look uncomfortable. They don't feel very well. So what would you do? Would you ignore it? Would you laugh along with the others, or would you say something? And why would you do that? Okay, so I'll just move on, and you can think about these situations on your own as well. So the third situation is if you hear somebody say, that's just society is, how society is. So we've constantly heard this in our surroundings. This is our culture, this is our tradition, this is just the way it goes. That's not a logical reason at all. So if you hear somebody say that, what would you do? Now that you've known all of this information about neuroscience and rights, etc., would you accept it or question it? And how would you do that responsibly, respectfully? So these are some situations which you can reflect on. And the main theme of all of these situations is that what's one stereotype or belief that you've accepted without questioning? So this is something which you can all do at home also. You can think about it at any time. What's one stereotype or belief that we have accepted as normal without questioning it? I'm sure at least one thing that could come to our mind, even if it's not something big like a huge stereotype or something, but there must be something that we've accepted at the moment, but then later on we've maybe reflected back at it and thought that it was wrong, or maybe we didn't have the time to reflect on it, but you can now. So that's something you can do anytime. Just think about it. And the conclusion from this is that human rights, they don't become real because they're written in law. Anybody can write anything on a piece of paper and publish it as law. That doesn't make it real. They become real only when ordinary people, even uneducated people, educated people, when everybody actually understands their rights and uses them. That's the main thing. Using them, understanding them for yourselves and for others around you. When they um yes, sweetie, that's really a good answer. Yeah, thank you for answering. So you would say something to the person who made that wrong joke, and she should not say something like that, and it would make, yeah. So that's a very good answer. You would make the person understand that what they did was wrong, and they should not talk about them like that. Thank you for answering. And yeah, so as I was saying, they become, yeah, human rights, they become real when ordinary people choose to respect them. They don't become real just because they're written somewhere. There are many rights which are written in the constitution or any place it may be, but many people still in the rural areas or wherever it may be, they don't know about them, they can't use them. So they become real when people choose. And how do we do that? We can do that when we choose to respect other people, when we choose to defend them and speak up for others. And we can only do that when we do that for ourselves first. So, first speaking up for ourselves, then we can have the courage to do it for others as well. And neuroscience reminds us that our brains can change. Just we've taken in many beliefs, stereotypes, etc., from our surroundings or whatever it may be. But neuroscience reminds us that this can change. Our brain can change. We can learn better. We can become better human beings. We don't have to accept it just because we had learned it already or people told us. This means that every person, every one of you, has the power to replace prejudice with understanding. You can make people understand, as Sweetie just said, that you would make the person understand. You would tell them logically that it's not right about it. And you would tell them that, it made the person feel bad. So we can do this by replacing the prejudice or joke or whatever it may be with understanding, making them understand it. We can show courage and indifference with our action, taking action. And the strongest voice isn't the loudest, it's the one that speaks when it matters most. So just because somebody is shouting or speaking very loudly or roughly doesn't mean that they're right. The strongest voice is the one which speaks when it matters the most. When everybody else is quiet, when everybody has accepted what it may be, when if somebody speaks up at that time, that is when change actually happens, and that's the strongest voice, I feel. Next slide, please. Okay, so that concludes my topic, which was human rights and neuroscience. Now let's just do a brief summary of all the topics that we learned today. So first was pressure and anxiety and the effective ways of dealing with it. How we can deal with pressure and anxiety in our day-to-day life. Second was about spatial psychology. How the aesthetics and bad conditions around you, they affect your brain, they affect your day-to-day life, your thinking, your potential, all of these things. Third was the cognitive side of procrastination. How procrastination affects your brain, how you can deal with it, how to cope up with it, and the cognitive side of procrastination. Fourth was how social media shapes our attention. So we saw the negative effects of social media, our attention span, and how we can increase our attention span, and what effects social media has on it. The last topic was the role of critical thinking in human rights. So thinking and questioning in human rights, the role of that, the role of neuroscience, and that's what we covered in the last segment. Next slide, please. So that was it for today. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and attention. I hope that this presentation helped you gain some new knowledge today and introduced you to something new, to a new topic from a broader perspective. Even if you didn't learn everything, I hope that there was something you learned from each topic, something new, even if it was small and of course you don't need to remember everything, but something new that you learn from every single topic, gaining some knowledge about the different topics, attention span, spatial psychology, neuroscience, etc. I hope that you learned something new today, and your learning doesn't have to end here. You can continue to, if any of these topics interested you, you could research upon them more, you could read some books even. And the main thing is being curious, and whatever interested you today the most, you could look further into that. And the second thing that I hope that you do is that you share it with other people. Whatever you've learned today, make sure that you share it with other people, just in casual conversations or anything. Share the things that you've learned with people. And this way you can help spread awareness, and you can also inspire meaningful conversations by that. Every step towards learning contributes to building a more informed and responsible society. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Thank you, Padma. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, so if no one has any questions, then thank you, Padma. Thank you, Netra. Thank you, Anaiya, Saanvi, and Prisha. Um, we will end the session here then. Thank you, everyone, for joining.